Hello, and you're all very welcome along to another episode of the Gaelic Statsman Podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Hurley, and we are previewing the weekend's games in the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship. It's the semi-final weekend. Armagh against Kerry on the Saturday, and obviously Galway against Donegal on the Sunday. Only two other games as well, so less games to look at this weekend. Obviously, the Tailteann Cup final between Down and Laois, which we'll look at as well, and the LGFA relegation playoff between Kildare and Laois as well. So less games, more importance, but this is probably the least games that we've had all year, really. So looking forward to delving into the two games in particular with John McMahon here from the JMac Podcast. Delighted to have him on once again here, and delighted to Capture Athletics are sponsoring the podcast once again. If you need any gear, check them out if you haven't already. So yeah, John, All-Ireland football semi-final weekend. It is the hurling. It was a hurling semi-final weekend last weekend. I was up in Crow Park, and it was an unreal atmosphere, but hopefully the football will ignite the same fireworks or as much as the hurling last week. It should be two good games to look forward to.
Well, Matthew, nice to be on your show again. Delighted you asked me, and it's a privilege to be on once again. And obviously you do great work, so I'm delighted to contribute. It's going to be a good weekend now. We're looking forward to the games. It's going to be hopefully going to be an exciting weekend at Croke Park for all the fans and all the supporters and all the neutrals watching these games. And it's hard to believe we're at this stage, but this condensed season and split season like it is at it does fly by in the blink of an eye. And realistically, when you get probably the league over and done with, it really does fly. So it's great to be at this stage. Two great games to look forward to this weekend, and obviously the Tailteann Cup final as well, and then obviously the Junior All-Ireland games, and so it's a big weekend of football. So yeah, looking forward to chatting about it.
Exactly. So an excellent weekend of football, as you mentioned there, and less games as well, rather than the condensed games, more or less. Like at the group stage, you'd have 8 games per weekend or something like that. You'd have 16 games if you had the Tailteann Cup as well. You'd then have the hurling on top of that. So is it great actually to have just the 3 or 4 games this weekend just to look at in more detail, rather than having a whole load of games to look at?
Yeah, well, I think that was probably something, with the All-Ireland series and like the group games, and I suppose some of the league games, you nearly need device and everything, and you're constantly early on your phone. So as you say, you probably get a bit of a deep dive on the teams, and obviously for the work, particular stats you do. It is, it is going to be just good to just be able to just watch maybe the game, watch the Tailteann Cup final and watch the All-Ireland Super final on Saturday and watch the semi-final on Sunday, and just kind of not to be, like, how's that other game going, or how's this game going, or how's that game going. So from that point of view, as you said, like it'll just be good to just kind of be able to focus on the games that's going on. So again, I hope we're in for three really good games this weekend. I hope we're treated to good spectacles, because I think the quarterfinals are, probably barred the Galway and Dublin game that you could really say was probably the only exciting game to a degree, really. The other 3 games maybe just flattered to deceive a bit. So I really hope it's a good weekend of action. We don't have many games to go. Let's just hope all the kind of players really put it in this week, and we're treated to a good weekend of football.
Exactly. So yeah, and before we delve into the games this weekend, we'll move into the weekend Gaelic games news, and no surprise really, these football news that we're going to look at. And on Monday, it was announced by Derry J. Mickey Harte has left his post after 1 year in charge at Derry. To be honest, John, I was on the train home from Dublin on Monday from JR with the lads Seamus and Dan, and I was looking at my phone, looked at the news. Mickey Harte from Niall McCoy, he got the scoop, to be fair, from Gaelic Life, but he was saying that Mickey Harte is going to leave Derry after 1 year. And to be honest, John, when I looked at my phone and seen the news, I wasn't shocked. I thought, the way they were playing against Kerry, it looked like they were just going through the motions. They were trying to get this season over and done with. And Mickey's out the door now. So what do you think about this yourself? Like, what do you think of the Derry season in general? Because it started so well with the league, winning the league title in Division 1. But then ever since the Donegal game, it's gone serious downhill after that.
Yeah, like, and I think when I did hear the news on Monday, I wasn't probably overly surprised. I think I did think he might have got 1 more year at the job, and just to maybe kind of get the lads back from injuries and kind of build a bit of a system for next year. But that's just probably the way the GA has gone, really, Matthew. Like, it's a cutthroat business, and it's nearly, as someone said earlier on, it's nearly turning into the Premier League with all the chopping and changes the managers. But look, Derry probably had a below par season than they expected. I think probably there was probably a lot of pressure on Harte to probably go on and win an All Ireland this year. Obviously winning the National League, and we thought right here this is going to be the real platform for Derry to go on here. But the Ulster Championship couldn't have went worse for them. The All Ireland series was very poor for them as well. So yeah, it just overall it wasn't a good season for Derry. You could never really say after the league final, when you thought things were going to be on the up, things just fell flat in the face really, and you'd wonder was maybe a bit of a disarray in the camp. It's so hard to know from the outside looking in, but a lot of them players just maybe kind of, I don't know, maybe just didn't look like they were only overly given 100% in a lot of the games. And we heard a bit like a training camp that happened in Portugal, and there's a bit of messing kind of going on that, and so it was definitely a very disappointing season for Derry, and obviously the rumour mill started, but obviously who's going to take the Derry lads now? Obviously Rory Gallagher's names will be thrown in there, Malik O'Rourke, and there's whispers of a couple of people not wanting Gallagher coming back to manage Derry, and I know it's everyone has their opinions, everyone has their reasons, and Malik O'Rourke could be a very good option there as well. But overall, a very poor season for Derry, a season Mickey Harte will definitely like to forget as a manager. Should he have left Loud? I'm not too sure of the way everything's after panning out from there, but who replaced him very interesting, and also what will be very interesting to see if Mickey Harte will take another team on, or will he just maybe ride into the sunset and put the feet up. And if I was him, I probably would at this stage, but very interesting if he does go anywhere else. But yeah, like it was definitely, my God, like it definitely, once the news broke, it went around WhatsApp groups and out, it went around Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, it probably flew around the place. But I think it was probably only going to get worse before it got better by looks things. And I think what summed up everything, Matthew, I don't know, can you remember this at the All-Stars last year when Gareth McInnes was asked by, I think it was Marty Barcy, about, Mickey Harte coming in as the manager next year, and, McInnes shrugged it off essentially. So that probably was a very bad omen, a very bad start for the whole thing. But look, he's gone, and it'll be interesting to see who replaces him.
Definitely so, and even the way McInnes behaved himself after in the Galway game in particular, standing on Damien Comer, that's just indiscipline in many ways, and it was a bit of friction that went around the Derry camp. And Sean O'Malley has a comment in here that's quite interesting. Mickey paid the price for putting too much emphasis on the league. Seen it happen loads of times when teams storm through the league, playing others that are shadow boxing and preparing for the summer. Like, what do you think of that? Do you think Derry put too much onus into the league? Looking back at it now, I know hindsight's a beautiful thing, but even looking back at the league, they look so good. And beating Dublin, obviously, in that league final, they beat Kerry and Tralee as well. They were absolutely storming the league, nearly storming everybody. And then once the Donegal game came, and I think Kevin Kennedy, who's on your podcast as well from the GA Sports Tracker, mentioned this as well. They weren't playing particularly bad against Donegal. Like, they scored 17 points, which it normally would win so many games. It was just the goals that killed them. Against Galway, they were decent enough. Against Armagh, they still got a high enough score. But then when the Westmeath game came, the Kerry game came after that, they kind of got into their shell a small bit. They got a bit more defensive. And I don't know, did they just lose confidence as the summer went on?
I think so, Matthew. And I think even this stuff of playing Emma Bradley and playing Conor Glass, especially after Glenn, do really well, and kind of basically starting the lads a couple of days after winning the All Ireland, I think that was quite foolish by Harte. And it's just, I think there was a couple of bumps along the road, Matthew, and we hear about bumps along the road to success and bits and bobs. So I think the Gareth McInnes thing at the All Stars, I think starting the Glen lads, a few days after winning the All Ireland, I think the training camp in Portugal, by all accounts, didn't go to plan at all. There was a few bits of bobs coming from that. So I just think like as I said a couple of seconds ago, like I think winning the league title, okay, fair enough, grand, fantastic game, football at Croke Park, went to penalties, so on and so forth. But I just think they didn't push themselves on after that game, and it really, whatever happened after that game, it's hard to believe it went so downhill. So you genuinely would love to know, was there a big fallout in the camp, or the players just not want to put it in for him? It's so hard to know. But Harte will be, like, Harte's obviously a proper footballer man. His record speaks for itself, and he will not be happy with how his time with Derry went. Obviously he's probably a legend of the game, really, and he'll not be happy. So yeah, like it just didn't work out. It just did not work out. The players just looked like they really, packed up tent and went home for a lot of them games the way it kind of turned out, and like just simple stuff along the way. Even that game where Oran Lynch was, 4 goals went in, and just like I said it after that game, I think probably said to you in the group chat, so on and so forth, like after the first goal, surely Harte is saying to Lynch, stay in your line and don't come out. But Lynch just didn't seem for stopping, and then 3 more goals goes in after that. So I think there was a lot of bumps along the way, and it just, the wheels fell off. I think the wheels probably fell off, it seemed, just basically after that league final, and then whatever happened after that. But it's unfortunate for Harte, it's unfortunate for Derry, but I think Derry will get a very good successor. It'll be very interesting. That Rory Gallagher is very hotly linked with that job. It'll be very interesting to see. But I think a safe shout could be Malachy O'Rourke. But look, I'm just intrigued to see what Harte does now after this.
Another comment coming in here from Sean, being in a great run through the league and then getting humbled by Donegal, set the tone for their whole summer, and that's exactly the point that was made. But just before we get into the games, like you were mentioning, Malachy O'Rourke there has probably been one of the favourites. Rory Gallagher being mentioned to take over Mickey Harte as well. What about Damien McIllernan, the minor manager? He won the 2 All-Ireland minor championships in a row. I think Joe Brawley himself was, we know the way Joe Brawley does tweet nowadays. He has been tweeting about Damien McIllernan for such a long time now, about him being, comfortable being in the Derry camp and being comfortable with the minors. They've done very well in the All-Ireland series as well. So, look, if Derry are going to go for a wild card, do you think it'll be him, Damien McIllernan? Because he's done well with the minors, obviously winning the All-Ireland last week against Armagh too.
Yeah, look, I think he's definitely he's definitely a candidate that could go forward for the job. But I think he was there before, if I'm correct. Am I, Damien McIllernan? I think he was with the Derry seniors, wasn't he? Before, I think.
I honestly don't know, but
I think he might. I think he might be. Yeah, he might have been involved in the backroom team potentially, but I'm not too, if there's any viewers maybe they could fill us in with Damien there. But like, I think he would be a very, very good candidate. But like, again, underage football is so different to senior. Like, you're managing the expectation of a whole county, so that's kind of why I do feel Malachy O'Rourke probably would be a very, very good option for Derry. The success that he's had with the Glen lads, he probably knows Derry football inside and out at this stage. He knows a lot of the players, so I think he probably is the ideal candidate. But word on the street is, as I said a couple of seconds ago, Gallagher does seem to be getting mentioned a couple of times, so I'd nearly say it's a 2-horse race between them pair of men. But McIllernan would be a very good shout, but it'd be very. I wonder, will he want to stick with the underage, develop the Derry underage setup, get players through, and look after that, seeing as he's doing so well with that. So I think he'd be better off potentially doing that. But of course, he's probably more within his rights to take over the Derry lads. But I don't know, Matthew. I think it's a 2-horse race between Rory Gallagher and Malachy O'Rourke.
If I was to challenge you on it, though, who do you think will take it, O'Rourke or Gallagher?
Oh Lord, I think it's risk reward with Rory Gallagher, because I think the ins and outs of what happened last year. And a lot of people are kind of saying, with the LGFA, like, how would that look for the ladies kind of teams and bits and bobs? I know there's a kind of lots of ins and outs kind of sort out with that whole situation. But I think Gallagher did always get a very, very good response out of the Derry senior lads. He knows how to win, in fairness to him. He's obsessed with the game. And then you have Malachy O'Rourke. Malachy O'Rourke's a born winner. He's the experience with Glen lads. He's won his Ulster titles. He's won his All-Ireland club. So, look, it is 2 very, very good candidates. Oh, it's a very tough decision, Matthew. Malachy O'Rourke, I think.
Yeah, we'll have to see. It'll be very interesting to see who will be Derry manager in the next 2 weeks. But the Art and the All-Ireland semi-final, not this year anyway. It was 2 sides that beat them that we're going to discuss next in a game. So it's Armagh, it's Kerry. Armagh beat Derry in the group stage. Kerry beat them in the quarterfinal. Obviously, this game is on Saturday at 5:30 p.m. on RT2 and BBC2 Northern Ireland. So interesting enough game from an Armagh and Kerry point of view. But I think the main question is, will Armagh cut their claws and go for Kerry's throat? Because we've seen the championship already. The only 2 sides that have attacked Kerry down the middle are Clare and Cork early on the championship. No one has done that since. So Kerry haven't got a real test yet, and we're in the last 4. It's crazy to think that. But can Armagh be the team to test Kerry all the way?
Yeah, look, Matthew, I've been basically saying this all week. Is this going to be another performance where Armagh go into their shell, play this defensive football, don't take shots on that they should take on, and just go? Like, how many chances do you want at something? And I think the clock is probably running out for a couple of these Armagh lads, and even Kieran McGeaney at the helm for 10 years at this, at this juncture. So I think the time has to be now for this Armagh team, and my God, I seem to be saying this to you every podcast I come on at this stage, but it has to come now. It has to come at the weekend. It's a fine Armagh team. It's a fine Armagh team. They've everything going for them. But if they start playing like they did against, like the Galway the last day out and in numerous other games, even in the Ulster final, very good performance against Derry that time, the blew them out of the water, showed their potential. Rian O'Neill, obviously, our fellow pundit Kevin Kennedy, potentially saying that Rian shouldn't start this weekend. He probably has to start, I think, for the game that's in it. Do you play him in full forward? Do you play him half forward? Get him in around the box and cause a bit of havoc for that Kerry defence? But it has to happen for Armagh this weekend because how many, it's their first semi-finals is 2005. They've a fine group of players, and it's just kind of. It's a stiff test against this Kerry team, but I think if we have to believe all this hype we hear about this Armagh set up and McGeeney's building and he's doing this and he's doing that, if you're an Armagh supporter, you're surely starting to say, right, let's believe in this hype and let's see what we can come up with on Saturday. The pressure's definitely on, but they're coming up with a juggernaut that is Kerry. Kerry will not be lying down at the weekend. Like, and obviously Jack O'Connor, the shrewdest man probably in the GAA, if not one of the shrewdest anyway. It's going to be a stiff test for Armagh, but they could cause a lot of havoc if they can get ball inside into Turbo and Rian O'Neill fairly swiftly, fairly sharpish. That could really cause a lot of havoc for that Kerry defence. But it's going to be an interesting game. I really, really hope it's not like the Kerry Derry game the last day out, because the Kerry Derry game was just. It was a horrendous game of football, and it could Armagh Kerry could very much go like that if Armagh play within themselves this defensive nonsense. But look, Kieran McGeeney won't care if he gets the result. He'll park the bus if he's winning by 1 point with a minute to go. He won't care. But let's hope for a good game of football, because it could easily be very like the Kerry Derry game, and let's hope it won't be like that.
Yeah, exactly. So Sean coming in with 2 more comments here. One more about Derry. Rory Gallagher to Derry would be like Mason Greenwood returning to Manchester United. Enough said about that, the better. We'll swiftly move on from that comment.
Swiftly move on.
This is about Armagh now. Do you not feel like Armagh are playing within themselves? Should have beat Roscommon by way more, considering they were terrible and a man down. And the fact was, Roscommon actually had more shots than Armagh in that game. So is that a cause of concern for Kieran McGeeney?
It definitely is. And this is revert back to my point. They definitely, and that's a very good comment by Sean, they could have bet Roscommon by so much more. But I don't know what it is, and this is something I've been scratching my head at basically all year about Armagh, with the coaches that they have in there, and obviously Kieran Donaghy, Kieran McKeever, Conley Gilligan, and obviously Mr. McGeeney himself. They're probably the 4 biggest names probably in the game at the minute, coaching wise. I know there's so many more, but you have to be up there. So you'd wonder, is it just protect the ball, protect the 3 or 4 point lead we had. Let's not push ourselves on here. Like that Derry performance that they had in Celtic Park that day was incredible. They went at Derry and went at their sore points and got at them, but then they just go back with it. It just seems to be when Armagh get inside of Croke Park, I wonder, did we get serious stage fright? Is there nerves? So many more people's watching. It's the big house, and the play may be better in these sort of provincial games. Well, fair enough, Galway game didn't go over well that time either. But look, I keep saying it, Matthew, the clock is ticking for this Armagh lads, and some of their best players are in the 30s at this stage, and we keep talking about McGeeney and how long he's been in that at the helm for as well. So it needs to happen on Saturday, because I think if it doesn't, all Ireland semi-finals are very tough positions to get back into. The time is knocking on.
Exactly. So we'll look at Armagh and Kerry's journey and scores to the final now. So look at Armagh's journey to the final. They beat Fermanagh the first day out by 3-11 to 9 points, then beat Down by 13 points to 2-6. And a brilliant start here. Down is the only side to score a goal or 2 against Armagh this championship campaign, which is an impressive start for Armagh's defence, definitely. They lost to Donegal on penalties 6-5 after drawing after extra time, 20 points apiece. They beat Westmeath 16 points to 11. Then Derry 3-17 to 15 points. John was mentioning that game where they opened up and were absolutely brilliant in the attack that day. They drew against Galway, 112 to 115, or 15 points rather. And then against Roscommon, they beat them 212 to 12 points. They've averaged a score of 115 per game and conceded an average of 13 points. Look at their scores. John mentioned Turbo earlier on, Conor Turbo, that is 317 overall in the championship already. Rory Grugan, 13 points. Rian O'Neill, 1-9. Willie Start will be interesting to see on Saturday. Stephen Campbell with 1-8. Oisin Connaughton with 10 points. Aidan Nugent with 7. Tiernan Kelly there with 1-4 as well. Look at Kerry's journey to the final, and look at the sides they have played. They haven't played really anyone as of yet. They beat Cork by 3 points on the first day out, 18 points to 112. Beat Clare 23 points to 113. Beat Monaghan 24 points to 111. And Monaghan were just absolutely terrible that day in Killarney. Beat Meath 218 to 9 points. Beat Laois 221 to 110, and then Derry 15 points to 10. They've averaged a score of 119 per game and conceded 110 per game. Look at the scores here, and only 4 of Kerry's scores are 10 points or above, and one of them is a defender, Tom O'Sullivan, and quarterback. So maybe that's a cause of concern. David Clifford there with 225, Sean O'Shea 27 points, Tony Brosnan 10 points, Thomas Sullivan at 10 points as well, Paul Ganey with 9, you have Brian O'Biogley high there with 8 points as well, Paddy Clifford at 7, which is probably a low standard for him, Darragh Moynihan with 6, Dermot O'Connor with 1-3 as well from a Kerry point of view. But look at Kerry's scores there. Considering the size that they have played, to have only 3 of their forwards on 10 points or above 10 points to Sean O'Shea and David Clifford, is that a concern for Kerry? Considering Armagh have only conceded a goal or 2 goals in one championship game this season, like Kerry, could their attack struggle on Saturday, Dick?
Yeah, like I think it's nearly coming to the point where if David Clifford has a quiet game for Kerry, and I think I said this to Lee Keegan earlier on, like he's such high standards that if Clifford doesn't score 7 or 8 points, that's nearly like a bad day at the office for Kerry. And I was kind of saying it's a serious game this weekend for the likes of maybe Paul Ganey or Sean O'Shea or Paddy Clifford to kind of step up or get your 4 or 5 points each or something in the lines of that, because I think David Clifford will come in for a lot of attention this weekend. Once again, I think the Armagh lads will have every trick under the sleeve for him this game, like kind of Christy McCaig did. But obviously Christy probably went a bit, was fairly obvious about what he was doing, but like the Armagh lads will try to get in and around Clifford and make life very difficult for him. So I think it's a very, very good opportunity for your Tony Brosnans, for your Darragh Moynihan and so on and so forth. So opportunity knocks for a lot of them men, and it's about time. I've mentioned Paul Ganey on my own podcast a few times with him stepping up. So it's time maybe for the other lads maybe to kind of step up in a big game and like don't always. I know David Clifford is an incredible talent. He'll score points from anywhere, but you know what's that saying, Matthew? You know you get by with a little help by your friends, and I think Kerry need that this weekend.
They definitely do, and I brought out the tactics board for the hurling semi-finals last week. I'm going to do the same for the football as well. Thanks obviously to Stephen Galogly, the former Monaghan footballer, for this. So it's Gaelic tactics board if you haven't checked it out already. So look at the matchups first of all. Like it's going to be very, very interesting. I was listening to your podcast with Paul Kerrigan earlier. Paul Kerrigan made some very good points as well on matchups. He said that Aaron McKay could go on David Clifford, so that'll be around this area here. Like David Clifford would then move into the full forward line. And then I was thinking who would actually go on Sean O'Shea. And I was thinking then look at the Armagh defenders. Peter McGrane is a new player this season. I don't know, would he be up to the job on Sean O'Shea? So I'm thinking number 2, Paddy Burns might take Sean O'Shea, and then Paul Ganey will be taken by Peter McGrane. What will be interesting actually is the half forward line and the half forward line for Kerry and the half back line for Armagh. Because you look at Armagh's half back line from the last game against Roscommon, their half back line was Barry McCambridge, Tiernan Kelly, and Aidan Farker. For example, I don't think Tiernan Kelly is going to go on Paddy Clifford because I don't think he's that kind of the defensive player. I just wonder who will go on Paddy Clifford though. Would it be Aidan Farker? Aidan Farker's usually an attacking kind of a wing back kind of player. Barry McCambridge, would he go on Tony Brosnan, even though Barry McCambridge was very, very attacking against Roscommon and used his pace to get in along the wings there and put balls in the back of the net down the other end. Like it'll be very, very interesting to see that kind of standpoint as well. The midfield is going to be interesting as well when you look at the 2 midfield battles. You look at Kerry, Dermot O'Connor and Joe O'Connor, who definitely have potential to excel but haven't done so in the championship already. For Armagh, you have Niall Grimley and Ben Freely, who, to be honest, I think Kerry might have the upper hand in midfield. It'll be very interesting to see that. And then down the other end, Rian O'Neill, judging by the match programme, will be Ty Morley that picks him up. If that is a matchup, it's going to be very interesting to see if that is the case. If Oisin Connaughty, will Gavin White go on him? Pace merchant versus pace merchant. It'll be very interesting to see that kind of point of view. And I think an obvious one from an Armagh Kerry point of view as well is Andrew Merlin and Jason Foley for Kerry. Now, Jason Foley has been okay in this championship campaign, but the thing is, from an Armagh point of view, I think this is what Armagh need to do. You look at their wing forwards from the last game against Roscommon. Oisin Connaughty was a load of pace. You've Ben Creedy, who's a big, strong runner around the middle as well. If Rian O'Neill's on his pop, he could definitely do it. And it was shown in the Derry game as well. What Armagh need to do against Kerry is just run at them. Because what Kerry don't like is when teams run at them. When you look at the championship overall, only Clare and Cork have ran at them. Clare got 3 goal chances against them. Brian McNamara got one. I think Dermot Coughlin got one. Iki Muguero obviously got a goal against them. Cork created 3 goal chances in one half of football. But then no other side, a Monaghan, a Louth, a Meath, or Derry have not run at Kerry in this championship. So possibly that's what Armagh should do. And do you think Rian O'Neill would be the man for that, to keep running at this Kerry defence? Because he is obviously a talented footballer, but he's that kind of a player to run at this Kerry defence at pace.
Yeah, like I think that, like that, in fairness, like I know Kevin Kennedy was on my own podcast was saying there, on Monday night that like okay, like do you maybe bring him on as a sub, and like kind of like Peter Canavan back in 05 when he was kind of brought on, but it kind of just refers back to my point, Matthew. I just think it's shit or bust, maybe for want of a better phrase, for this Armagh team this weekend, and I think it is time for Rian O'Neill to see the best out of Rian O'Neill. Like reminiscent maybe of that 2022 game against Galway, he was incredible. So if there's no reason why Rian O'Neill can't have a license to go around Croke Park this weekend and run at that Kerry defence and just let ball into him and just let's see the talent that he has, because Turbo is allowed to do that. You've obviously Rory Grugan as well. So why can't we see an explosive Rian O'Neill this weekend? He's one of the best players to play the game at the minute. Why can't we see the best of him? Like, I wouldn't like to think it's the Armagh coach saying, Rian, okay, maybe drop in around the 45 line or kind of cover that kind of arc or doing bits and bobs. Play football, run at the team. Like let's see Rian O'Neill, the quality and standards that he's set over the years. Let's see him this weekend. All Ireland semi-finals are when the grades become alive. I always remember the 2013 Dublin Kerry All Ireland semi-final. Jeremy Connolly, Colin Cooper, James O'Donoghue, Kieran Donaghy, so Paul Mannion, Bernard Brogan, an incredible game of football. Why can't it be like this, a shootout this weekend, and let's just see a game of football, a shootout? But again, Matthew, it just depends what Armagh show up, because as someone said to me earlier on yesterday, they're a very frustrating team to watch when they've so much talent, but when they go back into their shell, if you're an Armagh supporter, it has to be so frustrating to watch.
Jack weighing in with a comment here. Agree, Sean, that's from Sean O'Malley from the last comment as well. Also, Kerry haven't been at their best. Yes, Clare also had chances, but earlier teams can improve. One right off the kingdom just yet, and that is probably the point as well. Kerry are a Croke Park team, and it's definitely worth noting as well. But would you be worried from Armagh point of view? I know they have conceded in one goal or two in one championship game so far, but look at that half forward line, half back line rather. Aidan Farker, Tiernan Kelly, Barry McCambridge. For Kerry, you have Tony Brosnan there, you have Paddy Clifford there, who are very good attacking players in that team. Who would you be more worried for there? Would you be more worried for Kerry to get Paddy Clifford and Tony Brosnan to work for the team and track back and track Aidan Farker and Barry McCambridge and all these players? Or would you be more worried for Armagh, considering all their halfbacks normally want to go forward?
Yeah, like, and it's again very much risk reward. So I think if Armagh are to get over the line, they will need scores from that half back line, and we've seen on so many occasions them boys coming up and getting the important scores for Armagh. So they did, as you say, like they did stay and mind the house and kind of protect that kind of that firepower that Kerry do have in that half forward line. Like Paddy Clifford's extremely good, Brosnan, Darren Moynihan. Like, so when you do have that running at you, like it is definitely you need to be very cautious, very wary. So I think it's definitely something worth looking at. I think from that half forward line of Kerry, we probably will need to see a big performance this weekend. I know obviously the last out, Paddy Clifford got a world of ball, and Paddy's position and what he does this weekend will be very interesting. Because obviously we know he can kind of get involved in the niggly sort of stuff, and Armagh hopefully won't bring him down to that level. But from that point of view, it'll be interesting. But I think it just depends what Armagh, again, it keeps referring to this point, what Armagh we see at the weekend. Matthew, do we see attacking, expressive football, or do we see them, everyone just get behind the ball and just mind the ball and protect the ball? So, it could really go two ways.
Definitely cool. Do you see Kerry scoring a goal this weekend? Considering they haven't scored much in the championship so far, Armagh have conceded a goal in one game in the championship so far. Could it be difficult to see?
Oh, do we see Kerry getting a goal this weekend? Paddy Clifford would probably be the man who hit the onion bag. I potentially could see David Clifford potentially getting a goal this weekend. All-Ireland semi-final. Yeah. Potentially Clifford could hit the onion bag this weekend. Either Clifford, God, it's funny with Cliffords, but either Clifford could potentially bag this weekend. Paul Geaney, I don't know. I just can't. Paul Geaney would for sure. His movement's unbelievable. He makes serious runs, but you can do that. But if you're forward, you'd be kicking the ball over the bar. But I don't know. Can you see many goals this weekend? It just depends on what game we're going to be watching. Match. Like if I said you earlier on, if it's like the Kerry and Derry game, forget about it. Forget about goals. Forget about these high risk rewards points. But if it's a changeable sort of game, I could potentially see one of the Cliffords bagging the goal.
Who are you calling? So are you going to go for Armagh to get the shock victory over Kerry, or do you think Kerry will take advantage of Dublin being out of the championship?
I think Kerry will get the win this weekend. Kevin Kennedy made a very good point in my pod there during the week. When you look at the managerial teams in both teams, you look at Jack O'Connor, Mike Quirk, Paddy Tally, men have won All Irelands from Mike Quirk from playing and managing. Jack O'Connor's won 3 All Irelands. You have Paddy Tally won one Tyrone, won one Kerry 2022. Whereas with Armagh, you've Kieran McGeeney there for 10 years. He hasn't won stuff. Donaghy's only in the door of coaching teams. Conor Gilligan's had good success with Kilcoo, so on and so forth. And then you Kieran McKeever. So everything counts. Experience counts, Matthew. And I just think Old Dog for the hard road. But I just think Kerry will potentially be a few points. I know Lee Keegan was saying earlier on, if Kerry have a good start and Clifford has a big day at the office. I think Kerry will get the win this weekend.
Sadly, I'm going to go for Kerry as well. But we'll have to be fair though, like Cork in the hurling final, if we win that, I'm like, yeah, fine. Kerry can win the All Ireland. That'll be fine.
Yeah.
As long as Cork win the All Ireland this year, that's all good. But comment going in here from Sean as well. Kerry always saves their best for the big stage. It's a good point as well. So it's a good point.
Yeah, they do. And I think inside the Croke Park, they are a very enjoyable team to watch. We can't really judge much on that Derry game last night. We hope an expressive Kerry turns up at the weekend and to really go hammer and tong at this game. And, I think everyone's really hoping for a big David Clifford performance. He's just a remarkable talent, so good to watch. So it'd be great to see him up in lights this weekend once again.
Exactly. So we're both going for a Kerry win in that game. So we'll go on to the second semi-final, and I'm looking forward to this, John. I don't know about you. Yeah. Donegal against Galway in Croke Park, Sunday 4 p.m, RT2 and BBC2 Northern Ireland. In my opinion, John, I don't know, would you agree with this? I think these two have been the best teams in the championship so far. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think Galway defensively have been unbelievable. I think the way Donegal have been playing football this year has been incredible. Paddy Morgan emphasises everything that is right with that Donegal team at the minute, getting up the pitch, scoring these lovely points, the attack, the transition, so on and so forth has been brilliant. I think the two best teams are in the semi-final. And two good teams to watch. Obviously, Galway have always been a very good county to watch play football. Obviously, Damien Combs, Walsh, a joy to watch. Oisin Gallen has been superb for Donegal too. So, it's going to be a really good game this weekend. Very hard game to call. Obviously, Jim McGuinness has his experience up in Galway by taking that training session that time, and he has a bit of skin in the game. And we heard off the ball him saying that if Donegal were to win it, he'd like to see Galway win it. So he obviously has a bit of a soft spot for them still. But it's going to be a very tight game. I don't know. I just get this feeling McGuinness is going to pull off another masterstroke, and I think the hills of Donegal will be blaring around Croke Park on Sunday evening, Matthew. I think, but I think it's probably going to be the better game than the game on Saturday. Could be proven wrong. Who knows? It's going to be tight once again. It could go all the way. You could be looking at extra time potentially in this game. But I just think Jim McGuinness, I think he's going to wave his magic wand again this weekend.
We'll have to see, definitely. Look at the scores and journey to the final for both sides. Look at Galway first. They beat London in the first day, 5-21 to 9 points. Bit of a non-event there. They squeezed past Sligo, 113 to 14 points. And at that stage, we were thinking Galway are going to get nowhere near the All-Ireland. How a summer does change. They beat Mayo 16 points to 15. They beat Derry 214 to 15 points. Beat Westmeath 112 to 11 points. Drew against Armagh 15 points to 112. And that's the only goal Galway could see in the championship. Tiernan Kelly's net buster in Markovich Park. Against Monaghan, they beat them 14 points to 11. And then against Dublin, they beat them 17 points to 16. A monumental victory in Croke Park for Pádraig Joyce's men there. They've averaged a score of 116 per game and conceded an average of just 13 points. Look at their scores. The top scorer there is Rob Verity with 1 goal at 29 points. Shane Walsh there with 123. Paul Conroy 112. Cian Darcy 2-6. Johnny Heaney 8 points. Surprisingly, Damien Comer's all the way down in joint 6, I think it is, with 5 points, which is pretty incredible in its own right, but he does contribute to the team, no doubt about it. Look at Donegal's journey to the final. They have beat Derry 4-11 to 17 points, then went through 2 extra times in 2 games in a row. Against Tyrone, first of all, beating them 18 points to 16, and then beating Armagh in a penalty shootout, as mentioned before. Beat Tyrone by 21 points to 14 in the All-Ireland group stage. Lost to Cork 3-9 to 16 points, but maybe that was a bit of an outlier of a game. They beat Clare 223 to 5 points and then beat Louth in the last game of the quarter-final 123 to 18 points. They've averaged a score of 119 per game and conceded an average of 15 points. Look at their scores here. Oisin Gallen up at the top there with 2 goals and 30 points. Paddy McBrearty, 20 points. The next 2 top scorers are their wing-backs. Peadar Bogan with 13 points. Ryan McHugh with 110. You have Darrell Boyle there with 2-6. You have Kieran Thompson, Niall O'Donnell up there, Kieran Moore, Michael Langan. So very good players from a Donegal point of view. And players are well able to kick from long distance as well. So like 2 interesting sides. And what's interesting from stats there, when you look at them, Donegal have only conceded a goal or more in 1 championship game this season. Very similar to Galway as well. Galway have only conceded 1 goal at the championship altogether.
Yeah, like, and I think when you do look at that, and that is a very, very interesting point with Damien Comer having maybe a lesser amount of points, probably you probably expect a few more from him, so on and so forth. But I think Comer's distribution with the ball and being a threat inside and what he does with the ball and always being a target in there, I think that's more probably what the way his games will be going to a degree. But Oisin Gallen being top scorer is no surprise there. His range of kicking, he can score from anywhere. He was absolutely incredible in the Ulster final against Armagh. He was brilliant. He was a joy to watch. Nothing was a task for him. I would like to see potentially Paddy McBrearty get on the scoreboard a bit more for the Donegal lads and maybe kind of, maybe see the Paddy McBrearty fold. It'd be great to see. I know his game's changed a bit and maybe he's spreading the ball about a bit more and getting more ball and passing inside, so on and so forth. And obviously Peadar Bogan too. But obviously, yeah, Gallen is the leading light for Donegal by a country mile this year. He's just been incredible to watch. Probably a long-term replacement for Michael Murphy at this stage. He's a remarkable footballer, and then obviously we all know how good Shane Walsh is for Galway as well. He kicked some incredible points in that first half against Dublin the last day out. So it could look, you could hopefully be the God. We are going to be seeing a bit of a shootout this weekend, and it's Oisin Gallen v Shane Walsh. Will Shane Walsh have the same amount of space as the last day? I don't think he will. But let's hope for a shootout, Matthew.
Had myself a mute there. But I was going to ask before we get into the tactics stuff, John, I was going to ask you about Shane Walsh. How crucial is it for Galway to keep him fit for Sunday? Because he got a bit of a bad injury against Dublin, went off with a hamstring injury. How important is it for him to be fit?
Huge. Like, and he's just such an incredible player to watch. I did say it earlier on, I think only for him and David Clifford, the game at times is nearly not worth watching the way it's kind of gone. It's nearly like a game of basketball, watching the games these days, back and forth, sideways, so on and so forth. But he's a remarkable footballer. He needs to be protected, I think. I think we need to do a good job of him in the media, kind of looking after him. And, a lot of people can say, oh, Shane Walsh, his head's not in, and so on and so forth, and he's this, he's that. He's a remarkable talent. We need to look after him. I know we got a lot of kind of flack for, joining Kilmacroaks and so on and so forth, but look, we need to look after one of our own. He's a class talent. Imperative he stays fit, because I think if he isn't, if he doesn't stay fit for Galway in the future, these games this weekend, Galway really don't have much of a chance going forward, and the scores can be quite limited. But a remarkable talent, and we're blessed to have him.
Exactly. So, and we'll move on to the tactics board now. So, I think the main thing to look at the tactics wise is probably the Donegal half back line and the Galway half forward line. Like the Galway half forward line the last day against Dublin was the likes of Matthew Tierney there. You have John Maher, you have Cian Darcy as well. I don't know, will all of them start in this game? You look at Donegal, Craig McGonigal as number 6 is usually 6 back there. Number 11 is usually John Maher. 2 big men. It'll be an interesting matchup if that is the case on Sunday. You look at the wing backs for Donegal, as I mentioned in the scores there. Ryan McHugh at number 5. And you also have Peadar Mogan there at number 7. Now, according to the match programs from the last day, Matthew Tierney will be the guy to go on Peadar Mogan. He definitely has, the upper build to deal with Peadar Mogan, and he probably has a height advantage to Peadar Mogan, which would be quite interesting as well. Will Cian Darcy follow Ryan McHugh? Would be very interesting to see that point of view as well. If Shane Walsh plays, you would imagine Brendan McCole will be the guy to go on him. And he's been brilliant throughout the championship in this season as well. Quite interesting one from a Donegal point of view, Kieran Moore, because I discussed it with Stephen Gallogly before the quarterfinal as well, and he's really impressed me in games against Cork, in other games as well. Will he start here, cornerback, or will he start in midfield? He started in midfield in the last 2 games against Louth and Clare. Now that they're playing a decent side in Galway, it'll be very interesting to see where he starts. And who will they drop? Will it be Jason McGee? Will it be Michael Langan? It'll be very interesting to see that kind of dynamic. And even in the quarterback situation, you have in the Louth game, you had Mark Curran and Owen Bon Gallagher. Now, Owen Bon Gallagher played at 4 against Louth, and look at that. It will be, I think it will be 15 for Galway. Killian McDade will be going on him. But at the same time, Paul Joyce is a bit of a dilemma. Does he start Damien Comer in this game? Does he push Walsh out to the corner? If he does start, Robert Finnerty needs to have a good game as well at number 13. Be very interesting to see how he plays, considering he was very good in the Connacht final, 100% accuracy nearly. I think it was 100% accuracy in that Connacht final against Mayo, which was superb. But he got nothing against Dublin. He didn't get a sniff of the ball. So it'll be very interesting to see if he does that in this game against Donegal as well. So, and then you look at the midfield as well. For Galway, Paul Conroy and Sean Kelly. And then for Donegal, well, it could be Kieran Moore there. It could be Michael Langan. Could be Jason McGee. We'll have to see. But the key kind of matchup there is probably going to be Paul Conroy against Michael Langan if it does come to fruition. Like, Paul Conroy is 35 years of age. He scored 112 in this championship campaign. He's done absolutely outstanding. But Michael Langan will be another test for him, because he's a guy that will kick long distance scores as well and will contribute to the play. What I notice from a Donegal point of view as well, looking at, I know the 40-metre arc has not been brought in yet. It has been brought in by the Football Review Committee, but I'm going to bring it in for this point here. For this arc here, Donegal usually shoot from around here, around these areas, and normally get points out of them. I made this point on the GAR during the week. If the 40-metre arc was brought in as of now, I think Donegal will whip teams, because the way they shoot on site in these sorts of positions, you look at Michael Langan, you look at Kieran Thompson, Shane O'Donnell, Paddy McBrearty, if he comes out, Oisin Gallen, they're well able to kick for long distance and kick accurately. They get 75% shot accuracy against Louth, 69% against Cork. I'd imagine it was good against Clare as well. It was over 70% against Tyrone, the All-Ireland series. Very good against Armagh, the Ulster Championship. So it's almost impossible, isn't it, John, to stop that kind of, shooting from a long range, because Donegal are just so good at it at the moment.
But this is the way the game's gone, Matthew. Like, I've always said it. With these packed defenses and mass defenses, I think if you're a coach over a team these days, or managing so on and so forth, if you're not doing long range shoot to training, you're just missing a serious trick. When you're looking at a blanket defense, and when you have so many lads in front of the ball, like when you have the likes of Paddy McBrearty, when you have Oisin Gallen, when you have Michael Langan, all these shooters come through, even Ryan McHugh to a degree, you need it, Matthew, because when you're staring down the basement of that, if you don't have it in your locker, kind of like Connolly back in the day, where you could shoot from anywhere. Who else was really good shooters back in the day? You might have maybe Owen Mulligan, or Canavan, some of the boys back in the day too. Like, so, Shane McGuigan there too. But I think you need to match it, because if you don't, gone be with the days of feeding ball inside your full forward, and them days are just gone. Your 3 natural forwards. I seen a great picture of Peter Canavan, Owen Mulligan, Stephen Neal. Your 3 the best inside forwards we've probably seen in most recent years. them days are gone, Matthew. So feeding ball into them is gone. So long range shooting is imperative in the game. If you're coach over team, get on it, because these mass defenses are going nowhere. Negative football's here to stay, and yeah, Donegal have mastered it, and McGuinness is coming up trumps on it.
They exactly are, and they have players coming all over the pitch as well. The likes of Ryan McHugh, the likes of Patrick Bogan coming up the field, like Michael Langan as well. Paddy McGreer, he hasn't scored much in this championship, but the Oisin Gallen, they have a target, man. They have their scorers around the middle as well, which could be brilliant to see. And you look at Galway as well, similar enough to Donegal, but they do it at times. Like Donegal usually do it, but Galway do it at times. Like Paul Conroy shoots from long distance and is very good at it. Shane Walsh, if he's fit, is very good at long distance shooting as well. So Matthew Tierney is as well. So how important is it for Galway to get these shooters off the leash as well? Because Paul Conroy is well able to shoot a ball. Matthew Tierney is as well. If Shane Walsh comes out the field and he's fit, he's well able to do it as well. So could we actually see a shootout on Sunday? I think we'd all love to see it because we don't want the pat defences and things like that. So do you honestly think there'll be a shootout this Sunday?
Yeah, like I think again, risk reward in terms of like teams kind of taking these shots on, and it's it is an All Ireland semi final. You're not going to be shooting from all angles. It's not a National League game. It's not a McKenna Cup game. I think they will need to be very kind of cautious of that. But let's hope when they're in that position, maybe from your 35, 30 yards out, that they are kind of taking these shots on and they're not going backwards with the ball, Matthew, and sideways with the ball, and lateral hand passes, so on and so forth. Let's hope we have the shooters on the show this weekend. If they're all fit and ready to go and ready to rock, we have them on show. So let's hope for it, Matthew. Let's hope it's not a negative game of football. Let's hope it's two good semi-finals that we can look forward to. But we have the shooters. Let's see them.
Exactly. The interesting matchups I forgot to mention as well. It looks like it probably will be Sean Fitzgerald to go on Oisin Gallen, Johnny McGrath to go on Paddy McGreer. So I was looking at a stat recently about Johnny McGrath, the guys that he's gone on and has definitely excelled on them. I think he's been on Ryan O'Donoghue from Mayo, kept him scoreless from play off the top of my memory. He did well in the game against Derry as well on Shane McGuigan. So you'd imagine it'll be either Paddy McGreer or Oisin Gallen, and then Sean Fitzgerald will take the other, who's been a colossal fullback at the Galway team. And then you have Jack Lynn, who's excellent player as well, and so it's going to be interesting to see who Power Joyce picks to be on these Donegal forwards, because they've all been exceptional this championship, the full backline for Galway in particular. And as well as that, the three of those lads were in the full backline for the under-20 team that won the Galway the All-Ireland title in 2020. So that kind of I suppose keeping the three lads together in the same full backline from under-20 to senior has definitely a risk reward for this Galway team.
Yeah, no, it is. Like, bringing players through. Yeah, I see it in my own County Cavan here. We really didn't reap the awards at them 4 in a row Ulster titles we had under 21 a couple of years ago. We've no real players from that, and a massive play. Unfortunately, not many players really came through from that success for different various reasons. So for Galway to do that, it's an extremely big achievement. It's brought them lads on, and it's given football and it's made them kind of believe in themselves. So look, it's imperative for that to happen, because there's all this can go south when you win an under 20 title. You might finish up football, senior football might not be for you. So it's a credit to Galway, because there's not many counties that probably could be doing or have done the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. And do you look at the other side of the pitch as well, like Brendan McCall, who will he go on? Will it be Damien Comer? That'll be some tussle inside the full back line as well. Like Mark Curran, he did play against Cork and he did play in other games as well. Will he be up to the challenge? You'd imagine, could it be Owen Bon Gallagher on Robert Finnerty? Like Robert Finnerty has been good in other championship games, not necessarily against Dublin. Owen Bon Gallagher, like the Armagh lads and the Kerry lads we were talking about earlier, is a guy that usually attacks and goes forward as well. So do you think it'll be Owen Bon on Rob Finnerty or Shane Walsh, or what do you think? How do you think that will play out at the weekend?
Yeah, I think Owen Bon probably will go on Rob Finnerty, and Rob Finnerty is very much like this kind of Kerry kind of thing. Like, obviously with so much attention does go on Shane Walsh and Damien Comer, that I think that could potentially be the matchup. And Finnerty is a very, very good footballer as well, and does that, it chips in a few points. And I know obviously Shane Walsh takes a lot of the plaudits for the kicks that he does have and scores that he does get. But yeah, I think Owen Bon probably will go on Finnerty, because I think Finnerty could be even the winner of losing this game. It could be, the G shows up a lot of surprises, Matthew. It could be a weekend of more surprises, and God only knows Finnerty could be the man this weekend.
If you, in a word, who would you say to win this game? Would it be Jimmy's winning matches rolling on to the final, or do you think Pádraig Joyce will get this Galway team to another All-Ireland final, their first in 2 years?
Oh, it's a tough one, Matthew. It was a Paul Carrick was saying earlier on, it was Lee was saying earlier on that, like, I think the closer we all get to this game, everyone seems to be swerving towards Donegal. I just think Jim McGuinness is going to wave his magic wand again and get these Donegal lads over the line, whether it be in full time, whether it be in extra time, whether it be in penalties. I think Donegal might just get over the line this weekend, and I think we've mentioned before, if it does happen, what an achievement by Jim McGuinness after last year to get this Donegal team to win an Ulster title, to win the National League title, potentially go on and win an All-Ireland after the year they had last year. My God, it's box office stuff. It's incredible stuff by him. So, look, it's going to be tight. Let's hope for a shootout. Let's hope for a good game of football. But I think the Hills of Donegal might be blaring around Croke Park on Sunday evening.
Do you think your prediction will change if Shane Walsh is going to be fit for Galway, or do you think it'll be the same?
I think it might be the same, because I think it's gone to the point where Jim McGuinness has so much homework done, probably on so many teams, and he had a bit of experience with Galway at that time, training them and so on and so forth. But they'll have a plan for Walsh, they'll have a plan for Comer, they'll have a plan for McDade, they'll have a plan for Finnerty. I know there's a lot of fires put out there, but oh God, Matthew, yeah, you're nearly at the chin. Oh man, you're probably just changed my mind there. Look, it's going to be tight, but I just think McGuinness is such a genius, and I just feel he has another trick up his sleeve.
I just think Donegal will get over the line as well. Like, they've been brilliant in this championship overall as well. Now, I think against Laois, it was kind of a change sheet for the Cork game. Like, the Cork game, they pushed all their defenders up, and then Cork decided to start getting breaks, got 3 goals out of it. Donegal were saying, Jim McGuinness was saying, we're going back to the drawing board here, lads. We're dropping a few men back, and we're playing exciting football, but we're still going to be way more cautious than we were against Cork. And I think Donegal will get over the line because of that tactic. It'll be very interesting to see. Again, like John said, every time you go towards the game, you sway one way and then the other. It's going to be such a difficult one to call. But I think, like the Cork and Limerick hurling game last week, all the neutrals want is an exciting game of football. Please just play an exciting game of football. None of this defensive nonsense. Please just shoot on sight. Do what you've done throughout the Championship, Galway and Donegal, because, by God, John, as you usually say, football needs it.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, and I think we do need 2 good semi-finals this weekend. And we looked at the hurling there last weekend, and like the hurling was incredible. That game, the Cork Limerick game, was absolutely fantastic. You were at a match. It was a great game of hurling. And why can't we have 2 unbelievable semi-finals? And I know I've mentioned 2013 and how good the Dublin Kerry game, and everyone always watches that game back. But let's hope so, Matthew. Let's hope it's 2 rip-roaring games, 2 big contests. And why can't we have a shootout on Sunday? Why can't we even have a shootout on Saturday? We've all the best players in the country playing the games this weekend. Coaches, managers, if you're watching, let them play football. Please.
Exactly. Learn from the hurling. Like, let them off the leash, please. Like, all we want is a good game of football. 2 games of football. We might get another as well with the Tailteann Cup final, which we're going to discuss now. Down against Laois, that's on Croke Park before the Kerry and Armagh game on Saturday at 3 p.m. live on RTE2. I think Down will be going into this as major hot favourites going into this. Laois, I think, getting to the final is a massive achievement for them already, and they'll be delighted with the season they have got. Down in this stadium last year against Laois, scored 8 goals against them and ran right on them. Do you think it'll be closer than that game? I know it's a stupid question. It probably will be closer, but do you think Laois will put up a test of Down in this one?
Yeah, look, I think it will be very tight. Sorry, not even tight, but I think it will be. It'll not be like last year. Justin McNulty has that defence. He kind of has the defence. Even you can see Justin's mark on that Laois team straight away. I can't, Jesus Christ, I think last year was just freak result, 8 goals in the game of football, was just crazy stuff. I think the Laois defence just packed it up after last year. But look, it'll not be like last year. I think it'll be tight. I think Down will win the game. I think Down will be favourites going into it. I think they've learned a lot from last year, that Meath game in the final last year. So I think there's loads of learning going into that. I think Conor Lafferty will have this Down team so tunnel vision, so lasered on for this final. I was even kind of watching his Just McNulty's pre-match stuff on off the ball, and Conor Lafferty's pre-match stuff on off the ball during the week. And yeah, like Just McNulty giving zero away, and obviously very, very politically correct answers, where Conor Lafferty more relaxed. Aisling Riley says to him, Conor, what would it mean to this group? And, we always hear there's bits and bobs of quick answers, but he said it'd be great for the lads, great for the development. And I think Conor's really just trying to get that project pushed forward, push on players, get a bit of a grow back playing for that Down jersey. Down's an unbelievable footballing county. So I think Down will win the game. I think Laois will give a good account of themselves. It'll not be like last year. There's learning from both ends, learning from Laois to start maybe don't concede so many goals and back to the defence and stuff. And I think Down will have serious learnings from the final last year. But yeah, I would be swaying towards Down. But look at football, GA, God knows what could happen. Laois could potentially get over the line, but I think Down will be Tailteann Cup champions this weekend.
The omens might point towards Laois because the last two Tailteann Cup, the first two Tailteann Cup winners, in fact, were Leinster teams. So could we see a third one in a row? We'll have to see. But look at Down's journey to the final anyway. They beat Limerick by 120.
Don't mention 2022. Don't.
Yeah. Cabin man,
you had to,
he's
you
like here.
Yeah,
exactly. Would be a podcast without slagging each other, John. But anyway, we'll move on to Down's journey to the final. They beat Limerick 120 to 1-6, beat London 124 to 10 points, beat Offaly by 222 to 313, beat Wicklow by 118 to 12 points, and beat Sligo after extra time by 120 to 215. They've averaged a score of 121 per game. That is impressive for a football tally. That you'd see that and you think that's a hurling game. Honestly, that's incredible tally from Down there, and they've conceded an average of 112 per game. And look at if you're amazed by that, look at the scores here. I counted 26 different scores for Down in the Tailteann Cup this season. That's just incredible in its own right. If you could see it there, Pat Avram with 22 points at the top. You have secondly, you have Daniel Guinness with 1-9. You have Danny McGill with 10 points. Oran Murdoch with 2-3. Mihal Rudy with 7 points. You have John McGovern with 1-4. Liam Kerr's only got 6 points. But the scores have definitely got across the panel, not just the starting 15, the panel, which is absolutely incredible from a Down point of view. Look at Laois's journey to the final. They've had a tougher journey than Down, arguably. They've drawn with Carlow, 2-17 apiece, beat Wicklow by a point, 11 points to 10, and Wicklow were down to 14 men in that game as well. They lost a lot for Mana by 213 to 311, beat New York 113 to 19 in Portlaoise, beat Kildare. That's when the Tailteann Cup started to come alive for John McNulty's team, 211 to 12 points, and then beat Antrim in Croke Park. They've averaged a score of 212 per game and conceded an average of 113 per game. Look at their scores, it is much tighter than Down scores, more or less. Look at the top there, you have Mark Barry with 3 goals and 18 points, you have Evan O'Carroll with 215, Killian Roast, the goalkeeper, huge shout out to him with 12 points. You have Brian Byrne there with 2 goals and 2 points. You have Rian Murphy with 1-4. Kevin Swain there with 1-2. Mark Timmins at 38 years of age at fullback has got 1-1 as well. So huge shout out to him. So yeah, a lot of stats to go to there. Like, have you ever seen the likes of it, John? 26 different scores in one competition from a Down point of view. It's incredible.
It's absolutely unbelievable, and I think this probably is a real testament to the work Conor Lafferty is doing with this Down team. Like, it's a project for him, and I genuinely think, Matthew, you could potentially be looking at Ulster finalists next year. I think Down really are going on that trajectory. The only way is up for them. Get the Kilcoo boys playing, and that's an incredible list of scores. The Johnson chipping in, the Havern chipping in, everything. So it's going to plan for them. This Tailteann Cup has gone to plan for Down. Lafferty will be absolutely delighted, but that is some spread of scores, and it's positive football. It's great football to see. And hence why I think I wouldn't say raging hot favourites to Down this weekend, but they'd have to be confident going into the Laois game. And obviously Laois have had very good scores there too, and they've done very, very well. And Mark Barry is a great player too there, and obviously you have the likes of O'Carroll as well, great player too. So yeah, I just think all signs point towards Down.
like I'm going to say Down to win the final as well. But regardless of what happens, like Justin McNulty's done a brilliant job with Laois. Won Division 4. He did well in the Tailteann Cup this season. Got his team to the final. Are we seeing a Laois that is coming back into contention with the likes of Evan O'Carroll there, Mark Barry, Killian Roach has done well in this campaign. Justin McNulty actually guided Laois to the All-Ireland quarter-final in his last reign as well. So, like, Laois have had an amazing season, regardless of what happens on Saturday.
Yeah, like I suppose when you kind of say contention, I'd say Laois's ceiling and the way Leinster is at the minute and how much of a joke it is. You probably like is an All-Ireland a Leinster quarter final for Laois. Is that achievable? A potentially semi-final, maybe if Dublin keep slipping back, hopefully, and maybe the way Kildare and Meath are at the minute. It'd be very interesting to see. But look, there's no reason why they couldn't nip in and try to get up to them standards. Absolutely no reason. Justin McNulty has done an incredible job at Laois. He's like, fair play to him even coming back. He's really kind of bought and got the buy-in this year. And look, he's a great manager. We've seen how successful he has been with Laois beforehand. So look, there's no reason why they couldn't have a very good potential Leinster campaign, potentially next year, potentially the year after. We'll wait and see. But yeah, things are definitely on the up for them.
And as for Down, like you mentioned a very interesting point there, you really think they could challenge for an Ulster next year, Down?
A final. I think Down could potentially get to an Ulster final next year. They weren't far away from Armagh this year in the Ulster competition. Maybe a forward or two short potentially this year, but I genuinely think Lafferty, he's a quality footballer man. He will get the very, very best out of that down panel, them down players, so on and so forth. But I'm telling you, Matthew, do not be surprised if Down gets to the final next year, potentially.
You heard it here on this podcast first. We'll have to see what happens next season, but we're both predicting a Down win. So that is the football wrapped up. Just one more game to discuss briefly. It is the LGFA relegation playoff. Kildare against Laois. The loser of this goes down to intermediate next season. You would have to fancy Kildare looking at this. Like, they've had very good scores. Roisin Byrne and Nia Farley give Tyrrell there with 2 goals as well. Ellen Dowling with 5 points. Aaron Brenners and Foley with 4 points. And Nasa Dooley's doing well for Kildare as well. So they look in serious fettle in this All-Ireland campaign, despite losing 3 games. They lost to Dublin, they lost to Mayo, and they lost to Donegal by a point because of a dubious refereeing decision, apparently. So Kildare are going along very nicely. Laois, on the other hand, they're on a downward spiral. They got relegated from Division 2 to Division 3 this season. They got hammered in Leinster nearly every game. They conceded about 6 goals against Cork, 7 goals against Galway, got hammered against Tipperary in the relegation semi-final. I think there's one winner here, John, and I think it'll be Kildare. But at the same time, can Laois possibly raise their game? It's a relegation playoff. They have to go all broke in this one.
Yeah, Kildare will get the win this weekend. And look, relegation playoffs, Matthew, and unfortunately, I'm facing into one club this in the next couple of weeks in the league. Unfortunately, they're a horrendous position to be in. But Matthew, I do find teams that are not favoured to go down raise their game. So I would not be surprised if Laois potentially raise their game this weekend and do Kildare out of it this weekend. I do find these sort of games can be very tricky, and teams get up for them. And like I've seen so many relegation playoffs before, where different circumstances and the fall of a ball, slippy goal goes in last minute. So look, but I still think Kildare have enough within their locker. They're a very, very experienced team, and I think they get the job done this weekend. But look, it's a relegation playoff. God knows what could happen, but I think Kildare have enough in their locker to get the job done this weekend.
They should do, yeah. They won the intermediate All-Ireland last year, and it looks like they will stay in senior at least this season, and they got promoted from Division 2 to Division 1. So if they were to stay up and beat Laois this weekend, it'll be a massive achievement for Kildare. So yeah, that is the football semi-finals, the Tailteann Cup final, and a bit of the LGFA relegation playoff all wrapped up. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Subscribe to the channel and share the video if you haven't already. It does help us out here at Gaelic Statsman. Thanks to John for the JMac Podcast for coming onto the podcast today to preview the games. Thanks to Capture Athletics for sponsoring today's show. And until next week's show for the All-Ireland Hurling final between Cork and Clare. I'm getting excited. I don't know, is John getting excited for that game? Just a question before we end the podcast. Hurling, John, you up for Cork?
I'll go for Cork. I'll do anything to keep you happy, Matthew. I'll do anything to keep you happy. But no, it'd be great to see Cork win it after all these years. Cork's an unbelievable county, unbelievable GA county, and I think after beating Limerick, it has to happen for Cork next weekend. So very best luck with it, Matthew, and let's hope it's going to be the red and white lifting the Lee McCarthy next Sunday, going up the steps at the Hogan stand.
Hopefully so. Hopefully for myself and Dan Casey will be absolutely, absolutely drunk really on Sunday evening. Hopefully that happens next Sunday week, but we'll have to see the Cork and Clare game. But that will be reviewed next week on the podcast. Until then, for this week's podcast, we'll see you all then next week, and take care.
Thanks, Matthew.